What is the source of your cooking passion?
I think it stems from my childhood. When I was little, I used to, I was given the freedom to experiment in the kitchen by my mom. You know, she'd let me crawl up on the stool next to her. And I remember I used to take, she would bake pies. And I used to take the scraps of the dough and just like, you know, put like cinnamon and sugar on them and like mush them up and throw them in the oven next to the pie. And they tasted horrible, but you know, I was just playing around and I got comfortable in the kitchen. And then growing up, I used to play restaurant and while other people were, you know, playing. So I would like build a menu, like a 5-course menu, but one of the courses would be like Campbell's soup. I had this cookbook that was like the Sesame Street Cookbook. So I just got comfortable with food and working with food from early on. In between my childhood and business school, I did some cooking, but it wasn't really a big thing, you know, during college. But when I got to business school and I really kind of got into the Food Network and I had those opportunities to cook for my friends, that's when I was really started to think, aha, there could be something to this. This could be, you know, more than something that I just enjoyed doing. I could really turn this into a career. You know, why not? It gave me an opportunity to think about that. It also gave me the opportunity to realize that I was actually pretty good at it.
Yeah.
You know, I would get feedback from people. I remember I did they had an international food festival one day at business school, and I represented America. And I did like these desserts from around the country. So I did like, you know, Boston cream pie and pecan pralines. And I remember people were just raving over it, and it felt so good.
Yeah.
And then I also felt confident too, because I knew that I could cook, and I never really felt that way about anything else, but like that sort of confidence. So that's what it sort of really took off from there.
Did you find there was a moment where you gave yourself permission to pursue food professionally?
Yeah, it was towards the end of graduate school. I remember, so Sarah Foster is a huge mentor to me, and I befriended her during our second year of school. I basically emailed her one day on a whim because I used to hang out there at Foster's Market all the time, and thought she would never get back to me, and she did. And she said, "Come on down and we'll talk food." Because I said, you know, I love your store. I'd love to someday do what you do. And at that point, she brought up the idea of going to work for Patricia Kluge, who was a very eccentric billionaire in Virginia that was putting together a winery and wanted to build a farm shop. And she wanted an MBA student to come and basically create this farm shop from the ground up. And I kind of jumped into that head first. I knew very little about it. It was a huge risk, huge pay cut, but I was also like, this could be an amazing opportunity. I basically get to create my own store on somebody else's dime, you know, get the experience. And that's when I, you know, just kind of made a decision. And I make decisions like that all the time. I don't usually take the path that I'm supposed to take, you know, even though all signs pointed to take that job with the big company, because I had the offer, but my heart was, you know, with going with the food business.